Hi everyone. Just before we begin, just want to make sure all the judges are here. Just quickly, Cadence, are you here?
Yep.
All right, Chang Sang,
Yep.
Denise,
Yeah.
Jillian,
Yep.
Ruhan,
Yeah.
and Timothy.
Here.
All right, perfect. Welcome to the grand finals with DADC. The motion for this round reads, this House believes that parents should actively promote the narrative that hard work guarantees success to their school-aged children. Without further ado, can I invite first proposition to begin the debate? Here.
Before I begin, I'd prefer purple to your eyes. Am I audible?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'll be starting in yeah. Okay. I'll be starting in 3, 2, 1. Victory is reserved for those who are willing to pay its price. This was something Sun Tzu once said. Ladies and gentlemen, judges, and fellow debaters, I want to ask you all one simple question. Why do parents want to actively promote the narrative that hard work always guarantees success? Simply put, they want their child to succeed. Well, then you may ask, what does succeed truly mean? Parents actively promote this belief because beliefs formed in childhood directly shape all the effort, persistence, and their identity. And these are the strongest predictions of long term success that we know today, that is within a child's control. Parents want their child to succeed not just materially, but in becoming capable, independent, and resilient adults. And before we begin, let me define a couple of key terms. Hard work will be considered to be sustained intentional effort over time, including practice, persistence, and the willingness to continue even when things get difficult. Success refers to improvement in competence and the acquisition of skills that increase the likelihood of achieving future goals, not guaranteed external rewards like wealth or status. When we say hard work guarantees success, we do not mean this literally. It is a figurative language, linking effort with progress, not a promise that effort always produces external outcomes. Now, who are we talking about? Children. In childhood and their formative years, exploration, experimentation, and experience are always critical. To explore meaningfully, children must believe that effort they put in is worthwhile. Without that belief, exploration will just turn into them avoiding the first sign of difficulty. Now, what do we mean by actively promote? Parents will be doing this intentionally and consistently by emphasizing effort as a core driver of progress. This includes praising efforts over any results, reinforcing persistence after failure, and setting clear expectations around effort. Now, who are the children in question? They're just normal school age children from kindergarten to secondary school, roughly up to O levels. I'll be beginning my substantives. My first substance is that actively promoting the belief that hard work leads to success is the most effective way to motivate children to work hard. Now, the problem is this in current status quo and in opposition's world. Children's brains are not fully developed. They cannot process all the nuances that come with progress, such as sheer luck, connections, inequality, or even just timing. They need simple cause and effect relationships. Motivation requires perceived control, that it's within their control and their effort that an outcome is possible. Now let's compare this with what opposition wishes to bring to the table. They would say that, oh, maybe it depends, maybe there are other factors in play. And the children would just be confused as to what really matters. At the end of the day, the children need a clear focus. If they tell them about all the luck involved, all the timings required at such a formative year, they would feel like the system is unfair, that talents matter more, and as a result would be disengaged from any advancements. In opposition's world, the children would just go down a rabbit hole of what matters and what doesn't without a clear direction. Simply, and as a result, they'll either simply give up or hesitate from trying. Now, when children believe that effort matters, like they will in our world, these three things happen. They attempt harder tasks. They will still continue persisting even if they fail, and they wouldn't say something like, "Oh, I failed. That means there's no point in trying this activity anymore." Now, let's take an example: debate. I'm sure everyone has failed or lost at least a couple times, underwent years of training before we are the debater we are today. Would this have been possible without our hard work, without our parents constantly emphasizing the meaning of hard work, its importance? The answer is no. Parents are also uniquely positioned to shape their children's belief systems. Children trust their parents. They always observe them every day, and they also internalize their values long before they can actually think about them. Now, while we as proposition do not deny any luck, inequality, any barriers such as systemic or whatever is involved, the real truth is that effort is the only variable where children can truly control. Now, what's the impact in our world? There's an increased persistence in whatever they strive to do, be it academics, sports, or anything else. And there's just a greater willingness to struggle and learn. They'll also build long-term learning habits. And this is only the beginning. Motivation leads naturally into discipline, which brings me to our next substantive. This narrative does more than make children try harder, as it creates disciplined people who are hardworking as well. Believing that effort guarantees success encourages stuff like, oh, they don't need to be rewarded immediately. They can survive with discomfort and other stuff. Even when immediate success in their world does not arrive, they still accumulate a lot of skills along the way, and those habits are irrefutable. As we say, even if they happen to fail, the discipline that they get still compounds over time. Now, what is the impact? They'll obviously be a lot more resilient in whatever they do, be it emotionally, academically, and will be a lot more adaptable as well. They'll also have adults who, they'll also be adults who, rather than just being waiting to be rescued about something or not knowing how to do things, they'll actually act upon it. And they'll go much further in life, keep on trying where others give up. In short, believing in effort does not just improve the performance in stuff like classrooms, etc. It really just tells them how to navigate life. Now, let me bring an example. Teaching a child that, imagine your child is in a foggy forest. All you give them is a compass. Now, what will they do with the compass? They'll have a direction. Even if the outcomes in this world aren't guaranteed, they at least have a direction to go through. And of course, parents must actively promote this by constant and intentional reinforcement that turns something as simple as this little slogan into a habit within them. So, ladies and gentlemen, this house is not here to claim anything about the world being fair or equal, because the truth is the world is unpredictable. When parents are not tasked with explaining every single injustice, because they are tasked with raising children who believe their actions matter. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech. To open up the case for opposition, may I call upon Op 1.
Can I check if I'm visible and audible?
Yes, you are.
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Members of this house, we are not here to debate on whether hard work is good, but rather whether parents should lie about what hard work does. Firstly, some rebuttals for the house. They mentioned that this narrative motivates children. However, we say that this is what both sides want to achieve. We both want to motivate and incentivize their children to reach for success. But the difference lies in which side better provides support and encouragement to the children. This goal is not exclusive to proposition side. On their side, they're saying that hard work equals to success. It guarantees success. But we all know that in this world that we live in, this is not true, and it's not 100% guaranteed success method. This is a truth that prop needs to understand. On our side, we say that hard work does not equal to success, as life is not a vending machine. You don't put a coin in and get something back, a guaranteed return. Similarly, hard work will never equate to success. Secondly, they mentioned that this narrative creates discipline. What will happen if children fail despite being disciplined? Does that mean there's something fundamentally wrong with them? Absolutely not. We do not deny that positive encouragement creates discipline, but this discipline will be short-lived once children realize that it does not guarantee success, unlike what their parents told them. Unlike side proposition, we prioritize a healthy relationship between the child's learning, something side prop cannot provide. However, we can also raise disciplined children, just that ones are more encouraged and more aware. Moving on to my characterization. Before we take a look at what success actually is, we must find out who this motion impacts. So who are parents and children? Parents are adults that hold authority over their children. Children rely on their parents for food, shelter, necessities, and survival. Naturally, they would rely on their parents for moral education as well. Whatever their parents say, their children will believe. Why? Because school-age children are at an age where they are easily influenced by the opinions of others. They lack the capacity to verify information independently. Hence, they become vulnerable and susceptible, no thank you, to their parents' viewpoints. They internalize this information. So why is this bad? Panel, in their world, when a parent tells you that X guarantees Y, the child is not going to think X increases the probability of Y. They're going to hear X promises Y 100%. They hear a transaction. In their world, when a kid hears their parents say hard work guarantees success and they get a 49% on their exam, they blame themselves and not the system. Why? Because they assume that the system is working and they internalize their failure as a personal defect. Moreover, children come from diverse backgrounds. They come from different socio-economic status and have different familial support. The impact. This narrative causes structural barriers to be ignored as children do not start from the same starting point, making the narrative inaccurate and unfair. Now, allow me to recharacterize success. School side prop has a narrow definition of success. They tell children that if you try to be the best, you will be the best. But that is not school, and that is not how life works. School is a zero-sum game, and that means that in a class of 30 students, mathematically only a handful can achieve the textbook version of success. So what is success in our world? In our world, we say success has many definitions. It's not an absolute term. It can be assessed based on academics, health, social connections, resources, etc. Because there are 1,001 definitions of success, there are different ways of achieving success, which does not require solely hard work. Number one, there may be other factors such as luck, connections, and external decisions that affects a child's success. These factors cannot be controlled by the child, so it's simply unfair to promise the child a guarantee of success when they do not have control over all their factors. Especially since children come from diverse backgrounds, they are less likely to have control over factors of success. Success is not solely outcome-based. A child that goes from F9, no thank you, to C4 could feel that they are successful, even if they are not great academically, but they feel succeeded in improving. Panel, Prop's narrow definition of success tells children that the sole definition of success is being number one. In life, it's inevitable that setbacks and failures will come. The owner's side prop to prove that parents are actively promoting the narrative that hard work guarantees success to their school-age children is necessary, truthful, and beneficial. As the first speaker, I'll be talking about the parent's duty of truth. My second speaker will show you how this narrative is detrimental to a child's development. My third speaker will wrap up our team's case. My substantive is on the parents' duty of truth. Parents have a moral obligation to prepare their children for the future and not comfort them with false guarantees. Why does this moral obligation to tell the truth exist? Because parents chose to bring their child into existence. Their choice means obligation. What is the mechanism for this? As I've characterized earlier, children look up to their parents because parents are their first and most trusted authority. Children lack the capacity to verify information independently, so they have no choice but to accept their parents' words as true. So they depend on their parents for moral education. When you hold absolute power over someone's perception of reality, you have an absolute duty of truth. It's morally wrong to lie to someone who cannot fact check you. In Prop's world, when parents actively promote this narrative, this is harmful for 3 reasons. Number one, it violates the moral obligation the parents have to prepare their child for the future with truth and not false hope. Number two, it's inaccurate and untruthful. Impacts on their side. Number one, parents feel less confident as they constantly, yes.
So how does Prop propose for parents to motivate children in a way that children will understand?
We believe that in order for a child to be successful, there's hard work needs to be in the equation, but there's also other factors. Impacts on their side. The children feel less confident as they constantly internalize and blame themselves for their failure, which is detrimental to their well-being. My second speaker will elaborate on this point. Number two, the child's investing in their childhood with the belief that they'll have guaranteed success that the parents know is a lie. Panel, in our world, when parents tell their child, when a child gets 49% for his exam, he does not blame himself, but rather he takes into account and analyzes the other factors that lead to his failure. This should be how children are raised, and we are not saying that they should not work towards success, but rather they should work towards improvement and taking account that success means hard work plus other factors. Panel, we prefer a child who's resilient in a storm over a child who feels betrayed by the sky. Hence, I'm proud to oppose.
Thank you for that speech. Can I invite Prop 2? Here.
So I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. As the second speaker of proposition, I'll start with some rebuttals and then move on to substantives and weighing. So Op has said that hard work does not equate to success, but we have stated clearly in our first speaker that success is defined as improving themselves in general, not the employer definition of success, the parents' definition of success, which is the child improving themselves and having a brighter future than they would have originally had. Thus, the entire point on children internalizing their failure as their own problem is completely false if they have misunderstood our definition. Our definition of success is improvement in competence. So Ops case, as long as improvement is shown, then Ops one's entire case false. And we have also not said that hard work is the only factor to success. So the child understands there are different factors to success as well. My last speaker will rebut this point in full. So my first substantive is about how improving social fluidity and enhancing meritocracy. Richer children often have access to more expensive one-to-one tuition with customized learning and thus yield better results, while the poorer children are armed with nothing but a hope for their future and a determination to change their fate. In our world, we fill the gap and resource with hope, with motivation for the poorer children, so that they can stand a chance to improve their worse economic standing. And now, I'll start by proving why active promotion is so important. Take, for example, if child A from a poor family is told that, and if the idea has been passively promoted with no elaboration or no explanation on how to do so, the child will think that the parent does not buy into the idea themselves, so the child will disregard the parent saying it once in a blue moon. On our side, we show that the parent will show that they fully buy into the idea of hard work leading to success by teaching the child a specific action that set clear as reasonable explanations, which is the definition of active promotion. And thus, the child will also believe that work is more important than their socioeconomic status. What I am trying to prove is that thus, children from lower socioeconomic status will work harder because they have hope. They know they can stand a chance to improve their financial state, to improve their future as long as they put in the effort. We might not show that they can win against some of the smart and rich children armed with one-on-one tuition and paid subscriptions to certain newsletters, but we can guarantee that the poor can better some of them. Poorer children can do this because of two reasons. First, because of their higher resilience after failure, due to having experienced more hardship. And second, due to increased pressure to do better, as they have witnessed hardships, and they do not wish for their future generation to do so. In Ops world, the poorer children are simply not motivated to work hard, as they know that even if they do, they don't stand a chance, so they don't work at all, with a poorer future for their children. And the negative cycle goes on. In our world, we enhance the effect of meritocracy, as we give them a chance to break free from the cycle of poverty, allowing them to reach the higher social classes, helping social mobility, and also when they do get into the very high social classes, they can set better policies to help promote social equality. So what my point is that we are breaking down success into a simple way for children to understand, because they know that, like, if they know that hard work can lead to success, they'll try hard. When they try hard, they'll find that they can succeed, which gives them hope to continue to try hard and succeed, which builds a positive cycle, eventually allowing them to move out of the cycle of poverty and giving them a second chance. My second substantive is about the influence on peers. As the saying goes, when children see, children do. When we implement this policy, a usually not hardworking child will likely start to do work after they realize that it is crucial for success. And when another child, potentially a classmate, witness a usually not hardworking person grinding homework after the parents told them about the importance of
UI,
Yes?
how would you guarantee success using hard work?
So our definition of success, let me reiterate, our definition of success is improvement in general. When you work hard, it is statistically proven that and it's reasonable to know that when you work hard, you will be able to spend more practice on it, which is that you will get some extent of improvement, which will be better for their future, which is our definition of success, to improve themselves, not the employment definition of success. Because parents don't specifically force the children to be the employer's definition of success. The parents want their child to improve their future, and that's all, which is our definition. And I think opposition has misunderstood our definition. So continuing to substantive, there are two mechanisms to this. When a child sees their classmate working hard, they will also try to work hard, which creates a ripple effect. So there are two mechanisms to this. The first being that the child has an innate desire to please their parents, and upon knowing that their parents value hard work as a way to success, they look up to their classmates as a role model. And instead of wasting time on excessive gaming and stuff that will not improve their grades, they'll spend an appropriate amount of time on working hard. The second is that they will work hard because of external social pressure to fit in. And thus proven by these two mechanisms, there will be a social ripple of working hard, and thus there will be a society where effort is normalized and rewarded, and thus more people are able to develop to their full potential and contribute to the workforce. Now, before Op runs the case of stressing, let me emphasize that we are only pushing for the permissive and uninvolved parents to be more involved in their child development. Thus, when a usually not hardworking child is pushed to work hard by their parents, they want to seek approval from their parents, and thus they will work hard, increasing the average perception of working hard, influencing others from originally uninvolved or permissive parents to also try to work hard as well, increasing the percentage of hardworking people, which will in turn influence more people. Lastly, I'll do my way. In our world, our best case scenario is that we successfully encourage all parents to actually actively educate their children on the importance of working hard, giving hope to poorer children to improve their status, and telling them that your status is not the only defining thing in your future, which is what opposition is doing. Opposition is saying that hard work does not guarantee success. your luck does, your relations does. Thus, children are not motivated to work hard because they feel like, even if I work hard, I'll never be as good as this one child whose parents is in the government, for example. Well, our worst case scenario is that poor children might not make it too high the social ladder, but at least they'll still improve their chances and are better off than their parents, fulfilling the parents' definition of success. However, in opposition's world, the poor remain poor and the unmotivated remain unmotivated. The uninvolved and permissive parents remain uninvolved and permissive, and causing hierarchy even in a meritocracy system. And therefore, with all these reasons, this motion must go on. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech. Can I call upon Op 2?
Before I start my speech, can I just request the other team to speak louder, because we have a lot of issues hearing yours. So yeah. Okay. Anyways, I would like to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Members of the House, we ask side proposition to read the motion again. The motion clearly states guarantee. Do you know what this word actually means? This means that they have to prove that hard work 100% equals success without any exceptions. Their second speaker came up and said statistically. We ask side prop 2 questions. Firstly, please provide your statistics. And secondly, please show that these statistics show 100% at our success rates. I'll be moving on to my rebuttals now. Firstly, they say that children require simplified ideologies. Yes, we agree with this, but this is completely different from telling your child a blatant lie that you will definitely succeed if you work hard. How does side prop plan to tell their children when they fail? Blame it on the fact that they didn't put enough effort. Side prop is just avoiding the hard truth that parents will eventually have to tell their children. Next, they said that that their definition of success is improvement. As my first speaker has characterized, success has multiple definitions, and it does not solely limit to improvement. If improvement is your definition, what if they don't improve? Improve in what way? In what aspect? Yes, well, hard work may may get you success sometimes, but imposing this ideology over and over again only messes up their beliefs and how they function in the future. Lastly, they say that poorer children are not motivated to work hard because they are aware that they do not stand a chance against the rich. We agree that the wealth and resources definitely come into play when defining a person's success, levels of success, and hard work is necessary to improve. However, it does not guarantee improvement. Once again, I would like to highlight on the word guarantee 100%. Keyword guarantee. Nothing in this life is guaranteed, and we don't say that the other side effects such as luck or connections guarantees failure. We are trying to tell our children that, if you fail, it doesn't mean that it's 100% because you didn't work hard. It's also because of other factors, so that our children don't go down a spiral and become depressed because they think that, I burned myself out. How am I still not working hard enough? Panel, Auburn has already proven that this narrative is a moral violation. It is a lie that it gaslights children into blaming themselves for systematic failures. On my first substantive on mental health and how inequality in our world promotes mental health degradation, constant reminders by parents and increasing competition in society overall burdens children with pressure significantly. The active promotion of this stiff ideology by a parental figure which holds authority over their children restricts the ideas on what success is and how to achieve it. To say that hard work guarantees success is a stretch, and to actively promote this further taints their idea on the dynamics of what success is. It serves as a never-ending alarm for them, constantly reminding them to do the same things over and over again. This continuous reminder soon becomes pressurizing for children, causing many to overlook themselves or just feel stressed every day. This impacts children's mental health, causing them to worry for their future constantly. Their children will be affected, plagued with negative feelings that slowly eat into their children's mental health. When they fail, they blame hard work, and these are darting the blood, sweat, and tears they have put into achieving success. On a larger scale, the active promotion of this narrative shifts the dynamics of society as well, because students will become more competitive for the success that everyone wishes to achieve. No, thank you. Rather than the lessons learned along the way. This creates a suffocating environment for students to live in, regularly attacking their confidence just because they did not achieve their goals. They are tired, burned out from the constant work, and yet success does not always show from their hard work. Depressing, right? Additionally, the inequality present in society today significantly impacts the actual effectiveness of hard work when it comes to success. As my first speaker has mentioned, children come from diverse backgrounds. They come from different socio-economic status and have different family support. Compare a child living in a poor, abusive family versus a child in a a rich supporting family, it is obvious which side has a better chance of succeeding if the same amount of hard work is put in by both students. Hard work, no thank you. Hard work does not guarantee success when environments are vastly different. Parents that can afford to send their children to go for enrichment lessons, private tutors, and trainings no doubt provide the children with a higher chance of success rate. Why? Because these extra lessons open them to exclusive resources, a larger perspective, and more quality work that cannot be achieved without professional guidance. And children without that extra helping hand will need to work a million times harder, and yet they still cannot achieve the same level of success because the conditions that they are born into is simply restricts them from knowing more and understanding knowledge points deeper. With this imbalance of resources in mind, how is it possible to put school-age children under immense pressure when huge external factors affect success rate? So panel, I hope I have explained how this active promotion of this narrative serves harm for children as thus we win this debate. Now, I would like to say how this mindset impacts societal structure. Children that grow up with this mindset will grow to become unhappy, as my first speaker has characterized. Children who view their level of achievement. Yes.
So, what can children themselves do to improve and aim for success in opposition's world?
Well, this motion is not talking about how the children can do. We are talking about how the parents should tackle this issue. Once again, I would like to reiterate that we are not saying that hard work is not important. We are saying that hard work, while it is needed, we also need to educate the children to understand there are other factors. We cannot give them this stiff ideology that they need to believe their whole life in. Okay, moving on. Children who view their level of achievement as a reflection of their hard work will subconsciously tie their self-worth to their level of success. When these children meet the occasional setback, they won't be able to grow and learn from these experiences. Instead, they will view it as a punishment for their lack of effort. When children grow in a high-pressure environment, they are in a constant state of fight or flight. Those who are under immense pressure may choose to fight, and as a coping mechanism, once they view themselves as complete failures, it is highly likely for them to give up on the prospect of trying again. This cycle of trying to escape setbacks to achieve the impossible perfection will only end up in unfulfillment. In contrast, those who fight back are drowned in piles of work, surviving to fulfill the constant demand to achieve success by societal standards. As they grow up, they become harder on themselves, never accepting their body's needs to rest because society only recognizes hard work in their minds. And as long as they are failing, they are not working hard enough. Prop may argue that pressure is necessary to achieve outcome. However, when the pressure never subsides, it becomes a mentality of self-deprecation. This continuous spiral of emotion strength, no doubt affects the work ethics of an individual. These unhappy adults will then go on to impose this ideology on future generations, and this time even more forcefully because they have experienced the world as a harsh elimination ground. So panel, underlying how this immense imposition of such a narrow mindset of success impacts the children themselves and the society overall, I believe we win this debate. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech. Can I call upon Prop 3? Yeah, here.
Okay, so I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So in this speech, I'm going to talk about 3 things. The first thing is I'm going to be rebutting some points brought up in opposition. Second of all, I will be bringing up the clashes and why we win these clashes. And third of all, I'll be doing a detailed case-by-case construction of the main stakeholder, which is probably the children, right? So this is something that opposition did not do, which kind of horrified me. So first of all, opposition said that we said hard work means 100% success. They said that will return the children, but this is simply not true because we never denied that hard work might not lead to success. We might never denied that people might have different starting points, but what we're saying that these 3 words are, this sentence is in fact a metaphor, and it's something we tell the children to give them a belief that they should work hard. Since working hard, it will be the best opportunity to prepare them for success, right? And so in Proposition 1, our definitions were, we define success as improving oneself and yes?
The motion states that for your side, you have to prove that hard work guarantees success. So it means it's 100% guaranteed.
Okay, so hard work guarantees success is what we're telling to the children. But in reality, hard work, actually, we recognize that hard work does not guarantee success. But So moving on, opposition one says that okay, they characterize parents wait, let me see. Okay, they said that the children will have self-blame because after they fail, because they think that hard work leads to success. However, we believe this will not be true because people, right? Parents, what is their main job? They're not trying to get the students to have like achieve an external goal, but the main point they're trying to do is to improve the children, get the children to have values, to instill values of discipline and self-control, right? So then after failure, what happens is the parents are likely to recontextualize failure as feedback. So also, without failure narrative, the result is even worse because what children does is they will blame their innate ability instead. And what's worse, blaming innate ability or blaming the hard work. Obviously, the second one results in the best scenario because if you blame innate ability, there is a higher chance that you will just give up, right? Because if I like, I'm already in a worse scenario, why should I try hard, right? But if they blame their hard work, what happens is they will still be able to like self-reflect on what they have done wrong, and this will lead to them not working, not just having more motivation, but they'll also work smarter, right? So now, in response to this, opposition 2 said that this will lead to burnout. But will it actually lead to burnout? Which one would cause more burnout? Working hard to make up, because they know they have an inherent disadvantage and that they already have a chance of not reaching the goal, or working hard because they know that the chance of reaching a goal is proportional to how much they work hard. Although there are both externally driven factors in both of the words, the latter recognizes that they will work because they will be confident in their own ability. They will work until they know that what they have done should be enough to face them for the upcoming opportunity, right? But the first one will make them not confident in the first place, no matter how much they work, because they know have a disadvantage. They know that no matter how much they work, they still have a possibility. So in response to this, they would probably try to work as hard as possible and even harder than they can manage, and this will in fact lead to more burnout compared to our world. Thirdly, they said that parents are lying to them and that the circumstances aren't true. Well, Proposition 1 has already brought out that the child couldn't process the harsh reality, so it is much better for both the parent and the children. Or we rather parents emphasize on one aspect of a value and express themselves clearly, or they're gonna waste time talking about so many different things and that why the children would fail. Similarly, would you rather children understand a simple principle and work towards it, or have them be so confused that they will not want to risk preparing for something that they do not know might turn out good for them? They wouldn't even try to take the opportunity in the first place. There has been many cases of parents simplifying concepts to children to let them grow partially at a stage where they could possibly comprehend the full picture. So, okay, this motion has 3 cases. The first case is that the child works but fails. So why is it? Okay, so opposition says that the child will internalize failure, while proposition said the child will gain discipline and persistence. Why is it more important to be towards proposition? This is because it's more likely to follow our conclusion, right? They will not think hard work never works. I was being lied to, but they will think that okay, they didn't work yet, but hard work will still lead to success. The first reason is because failure is never total, it's only partial. When they do something and fail something, they will still see themselves improving, and when they shift towards a different goal, they're still on the path towards the goal. And second of all, for family, their parents are likely to help them recontextualize and self-reflect, so they wouldn't give up. So for the second and third cases where they give up and almost succeed, or they succeed in the first place, this overwhelmingly favors proposition because they see the motivation peak because success feels within reach. So confidence will be grounded and they will work harder next time. Compared to opposition, they can only speculate about pressure or stress. In all 3 cases, we win, and this is why we win the motion. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech. And to conclude the substantive part of this debate, can I invite Op 3 here?
May I ask if I'm audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, once again, this debate is about dispelling the absoluteness of hard work and success. Side prop cannot just change the motion in any way they want. But before that, let's go on some loose rebuttals. Side of proposition said that hard work does not guarantee success. Prop is contradicting what they are fighting for. So this is obvious that they do not know what they are even arguing for. Next, they say that parents simplify concepts. No, this is not true. We give the truth and not simplified lies. They know, proposition say that they know no matter how hard they work, they still have responsibility. What responsibility is Prop talking about when they are unclear about their own points and keep contradicting themselves over and over again, no matter how many times we address it? Next, moving on to my clashes. First, on the definition of encouragement. They argue that children need to have a reason in order for them to push forward, allowing them to maintain hard work, determination, practice, and willingness. We say that instead of drilling a mantra into the child's brain, parents should adapt to the child's success and setbacks and then encourage and support a child. No, just because the parents mean well and want their children to succeed, it doesn't justify the constant drilling of a false narrative that doesn't work in the vacuum. In reality, life is not just a straight road. It involves multiple setbacks and challenges in which we overcome to learn. The famous saying goes, mistakes make you stronger. And it seems like side prop is disregarding a fundamental nature of growth. How can you expect a plant to grow if you shelter it with the wrong conditions? Even if you accept the idea of promoting hard work guarantees success, it will inevitably prove that to be just as flawed, or even worse. It might cause children to stop believing in their parents once they realize that their hard work they preach did not guarantee their success. Furthermore, isn't what side prop pushing for fundamentally the same as what we are pushing for? Both sides want their kids to work hard. The only difference that separates both sides is that our side pushes for the preparation of the child to be able to navigate the inevitable failures that will occur in their lives. In their best case, the kids become hyper-performative, spending their entire lives focusing on their work and life, and getting stuck in the constant loop of self-blame for the setbacks they were thrown in their way. Why do we still win? Because this entire prospect of the kid being hardworking will crumble the moment they face failure and setbacks. No thank you. No matter what they do, some things are still out of their control and they will inevitably face setbacks. Now, tell me what would side opposition do when faced with a kid that has been conditioned that no matter what circumstances, they will succeed and then they are faced with failure? What are they going to say? Work hard and you will succeed? This is already contradicting to the nature for side prop. If this scenario were to occur, they will have to either gaslight their children in order to keep their perception of hard work equals to success, or they have to uncondition their child and approach it from a different angle, which is what side opposition is already pushing for. Sadly speaking, side prop is pushing for parents to manipulate their children or concede to our points. To give an example, prop's child who is told by his parents to constantly work hard at 110% intensity, however, reaches a wall and crashes into it once they reach a setback. Being so unprepared due to the parents only conditioning the child that they will hard work guarantee success, they will face burnout. In our worst case, parents might struggle to find a good way to gauge their children's perceived achievements and setbacks and may give wrong advice at the wrong time. However, we still believe that parenting is a rocky journey and parents aren't perfect. It may take parents on outside longer to figure out the right approach to encourage their child, but we believe that once they find out, the method will be far more effective than a one-size-fits-all view of hard work equals success that side proposition has been fighting for. For example, you are 1 mark away from getting a good grade. Try harder and you'll be successful. You broke up with your partner. Try harder and you'll be successful. This line of thinking is not a one-size-fits-all, and we believe that parents should be more adaptable in order for their children to feel supported in any circumstance. On our side, children may work at 80% intensity, but they will be prepared to face setbacks and adapt to it. A life skill necessary in an ever uncertain world. Comparing both op scenarios, it is no wonder why our side win this clash. Next, moving on to the clash of hope that can be substantiated versus false hope, in which what side proposition is pushing for. They say that even if it's not completely true, it is a simplified version of the truth that children can understand. It is a worthy trade-off in order for them to build discipline that's a necessary life skill. We say that parents have a moral duty to prepare for their children for the future. This includes the hard truth like hard work does not always equate to success, no thank you, but failure serves as lessons. Discipline is important, but flexibility plays a part as well. We say that parents have a moral duty to prepare their children for the future. This includes the hard truth like instead of setting up the children for disappointments by setting up high expectations, parents should also support their children based on the scenario, and children, instead of blaming themselves, can analyze other factors and improve on it. No, even if side prop pushes for the case that preaching hard work equals success for the idea of discipline, it still does not take away the flat meaning behind hard work equals success. There is still a narrative being pushed out. You cannot expect kids to understand every nuance that the parents might throw at them. They are kids. Even if parents try to explain the meaning behind hard work guarantees success, that is still out of the motion. We are debating about the narrative of hard work guaranteeing success. Even if, let's say, the kids are smart and catch on to the meaning of discipline. However, the constant preaching of hard work will indeed put external pressure onto the kids. Sure, you can enforce discipline through this method, but we pose the question of how long can you actually hold on to the control of discipline before they start rebelling or face intense burnout. In their best case, the kids will become disciplined through enforcement on the narrative. But why do we still win this clash? Because side prop seems to forget that these kids will grow up. Sure, this might be possible as their kids are impressionable, but what happens when they are 20? What happens when they are in the working force? Do they still rely on their parents to keep repeating how determines success? No. Unless they live in a sheltered life, they will experience setbacks along the way in their life. Their entire case basically falls once they grow up, as they fail to address how does the child grow and learn from their future. In our worst case, these kids lack motivation to improve on themselves and go with the flow. However, we believe that this mindset is in the minority. Parents, while shouldn't be too harsh and hold unattainable expectations for their children, it is also their duty for them to keep striving to improve themselves in a healthy manner. The whole reason why our side pushes for a different and adaptable way for parents to handle with their kids' ambitions and setbacks is so that parents don't put too much external pressure on their kid, who are already facing other expectations such as self and other expectations. Even if a kid faces setbacks and runs out of motivation, they can still improve and learn from their mistakes. Panel, we prefer a child who is resilient in a storm over a child who feels betrayed by the sky. For the sake of the child's agency and their sanity, we beg to oppose.
Thank you for the speech. There will now be a 2-minute break for reply. All right, the 2 minutes are now up. Can I call upon op reply?
Can I check if I'm audible and visible?
Yes, you are.
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, 40 minutes ago when this debate started, I had no idea what side prop's case was. 40 minutes after this debate, I still have no idea what side prop is talking about. Side prop has completely misunderstood their side of the motion. Their side is supposed to prove that hard work guarantees success. When a child works hard, there's a confirmed 100% rate of success with no exceptions. Instead, they built the whole case on why hard work is important to achieve success. We also agree that hard work is important, but we chose not to lie to our children. Just with that, they failed to fulfill their burden. Side prop has also repeatedly dropped off points such as the parent's duty of truth. Their case lies on a single fragile assumption that the lie will hold. They have built their wall on the idea that if parents keep promising that hard work guarantees success, their child will believe it, work harder, and the cracks in the system will never show. They view parents as salesmen and the child as a customer. We take their premise down with 2 structural reasons. Firstly, success has different definitions. We have told proposition time and time this point again. is not an absolute term. The definition that side prop has provided is narrow-minded. They say that success equals improvement. However, we say success can mean improvement, but it can also mean staying the same or learning from failure, etc. Number 2, it's not 100% guaranteed. Children come from different backgrounds, as the first speaker has established, which definitely affects their ability to achieve different levels of success. However, it's still not right for parents to hypothetically lie to their child and say that hard work will pull them out of poverty. There are other ways to keep a child motivated. In fact, side prop has actually contradicted their own idea. For example, children growing up in poverty are bound to experience more setbacks, which is why they need to be conditioned to accept setbacks and still stay motivated. We have won this debate because we acknowledge one thing side prop refused to admit: the vending machine breaks. School is unfair and curves exist. Bias exists. The moment the child puts the coin of hard work and doesn't get the product of success, the proposition's entire case collapses. We are the only team that gave the child a plan for that inevitable day. We saw two fundamental clashes in today's debate. Firstly, which narrative creates a survival? Side prop promised you a motivation, which we told you is not mutually exclusive. They painted a picture of a child working 10 hours a day, fueled by the certainty of a reward. But we told you that it's a sugar rush. It provides high energy for a moment, but it lacks the protein of truth to sustain the child through the long haul, thus not preparing the child for the future. We won this point when we showed you the inevitability of failure. Because prop attached the child's self-worth to a guarantee, they ensured that the first failure will be catastrophic. In their world, failure is a breach of contact. When this happens, the child quits or breakdowns. In our world, failure is a data point. But when this happens, the child adjusts and adapts, thus promoting healthier children. Panel, if you want a sprinter who collapses at the first hurdle, vote side prop. If you want a marathon runner who knows how to get back up, you must vote side opposition. Second clash, we ask ourselves, is it right to lie? Proposition told you that a lie is a noble because it drives productivity and motivates the child. We told you that this is meritocratic gaslighting. We show you the dark logic of their narrative. If hard work equals to success, then logically failure will equal to laziness. We argue that this is too high of a price to pay for an A grade. We refuse to sacrifice a child's mental health on the altar of productivity, as what my second speaker has said. And for the final time, we prefer a child who is resilient in a storm over a child who feels betrayed by the sky. For all of those reasons, never been prouder to oppose.
Thank you for that speech. And to sum up the debate, prop reply.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, I'll be beginning in 3, 2, 1. Judges, the central issue of this debate is very simple. Our entire case is proving that parents should tell their child that hard work leads to success would be the best way to motivate children, not that hard work guaranteeing success is true. So there are many factors leading to success. Firstly, the problem is that opposition completely mischaracterized our case from the get-go and then spent around defeating an argument we never made. From the very first off speech, we were clear that hard work guarantees success is figurative, not literal, and we define success as skill acquisition and improved future chances, not guaranteed whatever textbooks. When opposition insists on treating this as a literal promise, they're not engaging us, they're just constructing a straw man in this entire case. Now, opposition's main claim is that this is lying to children and burdens them when efforts don't work. This claim falls on multiple levels. Firstly, this is not a lie. We are simply simplifying their world to better further our children. A lie is obviously an attempt to deceive about reality. But what parents are doing here is giving children a developmentally appropriate step. Parents do this all the time. For example, practice makes perfect. If you try your best, you'll do well. You can be anything you want. None of these are literally true, but they're all necessary for children to act and persist and keep trying and never give up. Simplifying reality for children is not some sort of deception that op is made to be. It is just responsible parenting. Secondly, opposition asks, what happens when a child works hard and it still doesn't work? But in our world, good parenting never says that effort was meaningless. It says that you haven't succeeded yet. The important keyword is yet, so that they can continue to learn and grow and adjust. Because failure is obviously normal, but in our world, it is framed as something as a feedback of sorts, not proof that the belief was false. And this is how resilience is really built. Opposition never explains how telling children effort might not matter helps them cope with failure. In fact, it does the opposite. Thirdly, opposition's world burdens children more. It basically whether we want to burden them more versus give them motivation. Opposition wants to front load everything like luck, inequality, system unfairness, and And while we acknowledge all these factors, but children cannot act on them, that leaves children with a far heavier burden that even if they try, it might still not matter. And that belief just kills motivation. So forget about this case being parallel on both sides. The situation is clearly far worse. Motivation requires perceived control, and our narrative gives exactly that effort is equal to progress. Opposition admits effort matters, but then refuses to explain what else children should act on. And we even help them out by naming different things like luck, talent, timing, etc., and explain why children cannot meaningfully process them without disengaging. Now, why does prop wins? Let's compare the worlds. In opposition's world, they're confused and disengaged because they feel like the system is unfair and there are multiple factors not in their control. In our world, children try harder, they persist longer, and they don't just out themselves the second anything happens. This leads to persistence, the willingness to struggle, as our proposition 1 even said. And as we said earlier, teaching a child that efforts matter is like teaching them how to ride a bike. You don't begin with abstract topics like gravity, torque. You just keep with one basic rule that they should keep pedaling. And to put the final nail on the coffin, it's not like we never inform them eventually. When they're developed, they can critically evaluate. That's when we really tell them. They claim that, oh, you say 20 years from now, workforce, etc. But won't they be able to evaluate themselves by then? Judges, a belief that sometimes disappointment is not as damaging as a belief that never motivates. For those reasons, we take this win. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech. Both teams can now cross the house. Judges, let's move to the prep room. Is there a prep room? Let me check. Maybe the spare room.